Do you live in a world filled with corporate data? Are you plagued by siloed departments? Are your lackluster growth strategies demolishing your chances for success? Are you held captive by the evil menace, Lord Lack? Lack of time, lack of strategy, and lack of the most important and powerful tool in your superhero tool belt, knowledge. Never fear, HubHeroes. Get ready to don your cape and mask, move into action, and become the Hub Hero your organization needs. Tune in each week to join the League of Extraordinary Inbound Heroes as we help you educate, empower, and execute. HubHeroes, it's time to unite and activate your powers.
All right. Well, sorry, I didn't mean for you to hit your knee as you got back into your desk there.
It's my ankle.
Oh, was it your ankle? Oh, geez, that hurts.
A little funny bone.
That's not so funny. Not so funny. So today, Liz is on vacation, so she is missed, of course, but we're glad to be back on the mic and recording. Today's episode, we're going to talk about something that probably has quickly become one of the most powerful tools in HubSpot, but under the radar, because it's very easy to fly under the radar when everything is about AI and Breeze Intelligence and Copilot this. And there's just been, I mean, we're coming off a spring spotlight. And if you didn't know, there's like AI in HubSpot. Okay, now you know there's AI in HubSpot. But what else is in HubSpot? And what else has gotten really powerful, and I want to take time to talk about because I feel like the community just needs to know, is campaigns. Now, before we get hate mail and we get booze and all that stuff, like, listen, I get it. Historically, campaigns in HubSpot has been treated like a marketing-only tool. It's this layer, right, that's been there, and you could do some things, but not all things. And then it started to get these little changes, like custom properties that you could add to it and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I open it up, and my gosh, all of a sudden I saw that you could add more things than one realized maybe that you could add. And my mind was exploded to, this is no longer about marketing. This is about marketing. It's about content. It's about CRM. It's about automation. It's about your library of assets. It's about sales. Even if you're not using HubSpot for your content, it's about external websites. Max, it's even about marketing events and tracking URLs. Like, and by the way, those are just the high level bullet point items that are in the campaigns tool. So first of all, let's just start off with this. The campaigns tool has evolved over the recent years, but I want to know, Chad and Max, like, one, how have you historically thought about it? And maybe two, Max, it's been a while, but like when you were teaching the campaigns tool or things like that, like take us down memory lane a little bit for both of you.
I mean, when I was teaching it, geez, this is back in 2018. So what was this thing even in 2018? I think the way that I kind of described it to people back then was that like, hey, listen, there's a lot of things in HubSpot that you build that work together, right? But unfortunately, all those things have reporting where those things live, which sure is a great thing if you're looking at an individual item, right? But if you want to understand how all these things are working together in one single pane of glass, that's why you create a campaign, right? And I primarily looked at it as like a reporting tool, right? Which I don't know if you could call it just that today, because I just popped into it and used a template for the first time and I'm losing my mind here. It was really just like, sure, you could build a dashboard. Sure, you could do this. Sure, you could do that. But it's just like, hey, if you want us to just see how all your stuff is performing, right? It was like the one thing in HubSpot that glued everything together, right? Yeah. All these like different things that you would build, from emails to CTAs to blog posts to landing pages to whatever, right?
So, Chad, where does your brain go?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the way I would think about it in the past as well is like it was really the glue that pieced together all of the HubSpot assets. And I just really tell people like what it is it's the tool that allows you to say, I'm using these things and they got me these people and these closed won deals, right? And that was the way you were able to really attribute how they got there versus like conversions per setup, right? Or per thing you're trying to do. But I would find that it would be pretty difficult for smaller businesses who have no concept of real marketing to leverage the tool effectively, because they're like, I hire some guy to do my Facebook ads, like when they're doing their old construction Facebook ads, because that's the industry that I was from at the time, right? So they're just hiring people to do their Facebook ads. They don't know what the ads look like, where they're going. They don't know anything about any of that. And so when they want clear reporting, their agency that they're hiring wouldn't want to use this extra tool that they're not familiar with, or make all the forms go be HubSpot forms on the website. They wanted to use like WordPress and WordPress forms because that's the thing that they already knew, right? So it required a little bit of a barrier of adoption, I feel like, at the time. But when you used it, oh boy, was it wonderful, because it really was, the windshield wiper fluid on the, gross window of all of your marketing activities.
Very
and
visual.
It would allow you to see clearly. Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry for that.
No, I love it. I love it. And I do think that seeing clearly, because if I go back in the Wayback Machine for a hot second, there was just a lot of confusion. What campaigns? Is it paid ads? Is it email? Is it, inbound? Like what is it? And I always used to teach this thing of like, what we're really talking about is inbound campaigns. The fact that you're creating valuable content, you're creating conversion points to have conversations, and how can you show kind of all of it in one place to get that visibility and to have the clarity and to be able to report. So many of the words that both of you are saying. So what I want to do, though, is I want to kind of go through this, and I want to pick your brain a little bit if there's anything that kind of stands out. So, for instance, right now, if we open up the marketing tab, and don't worry, we're gonna get to the sales tab, ladies and gentlemen. Just hang on a second. If you haven't been in there, now you'll know. But we're going to go into the marketing tab. And so in the marketing tab, we've got ads campaigns, we've got CTAs, and we've got CTAs legacy. We've got marketing emails, SMS, social posts. When you guys think about those being listed under the marketing assets, like where does your brain go? Is there something that's surprising you that's there? Or is there something that you think is underutilized? Just unpack the marketing section of the campaigns tool for me.
Well, I'm trying to start from scratch here. You said the asset, like just all the assets, right?
Yeah. So if you go in and you add an asset, basically you click that button, and you'll be able to open up the first marketing kind of flywheel. And it's not a flywheel. It's a little like chevron, actually. And under marketing, you'll see those elements at your disposal.
Yeah, I think there's probably, for weird custom scenarios, the thing that's going to be helpful is, I guess it depends, right? So there's always been this like difficult thing of, if it's not a standard asset, how do you get something related to a campaign, right? Like if, say, you have offline sources, but for online sources, it works amazing, because these are all places you can get all these online sources. They have like tracking URLs that you add. So if you have some sort of weird offline sources, you can kind of shoehorn the association, if you will, into like a tracking URL, or submit a form behind the scenes just via API that doesn't actually do anything besides, this thing came from this campaign for this offline source, and then just go secretly fire the form in the background. So at least it gets that person related to that campaign, right? That's like a way you can kind of solve for some of those like weird issues that you've had. But yeah, I mean, this is like, there's so much stuff here that you can now tie to a campaign, whereas it used to basically just be kind of the content and forms, right? There's a lot here.
I love that all like the content. And when I say content tools, I don't necessarily mean Content Hub. I mean anything that you're using to generate content. So everything under marketing to me kind of falls into that, right? I think like the big thing, and I'm just like, well, also it's weird that static. Well, I'm sure there's a reason. I just haven't thought of it. But static lists is something you could associate, but not an active list. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering what technical limitation there is blocking that, or what fundamental reason.
You guys are getting ahead of the. You're getting ahead of the thing. Like just under the marketing tab. Let's stick there for a second.
Under the marketing tab, I think everything there is there that should be there. You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't really know where my mind goes other than like, yeah, it should be there. I mean,
So here's the fun thing for me, because I remember a day when you used to have to do something like Sakari or Kixi to do SMS.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that SMS is sitting under this marketing tab, and it's like, we understand that this is a way that people like to communicate, or you like to communicate. And hopefully because you like to communicate, they like to communicate that way. But not only are we going to give you the ability to do it, we're going to give you the ability to put it into a campaign. And I think that's nice, and it's spicy. Mm-hmm. And I would wonder how many marketers, how many business owners out there that are listening to this that are still using HubSpot like the historical HubSpot and haven't even incorporated SMS or looked at the SMS add-on and understand that the SMS can be added to campaigns so that you can understand if it works or if it doesn't work, which then allows you to like, well, let's get it. Let's test it. It can be part of a campaign. And then we know if we want to use it moving forward.
Yeah. You know, you bring up like a good point with the SMS stuff, and a lot of people have been using Sakari and kind of all that. Like, it'd be really interesting to see if they'd open up these sort of like assets and sources to like third-party apps, right? Because, you know, a lot of people haven't adopted HubSpot SMS yet because, you know, let's be honest, it's taken a while for it to really get to a place where people want to use it, right? And like the SMS stuff has been already so solved by the ecosystem, you know, that a lot of people are kind of on those solutions and stuck on those solutions and don't have much of a incentive, if you will, to like move on to like native HubSpot SMS, especially since it's already another paid add-on, right? But yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like, again, like if you're using a Sakari or a whatever, could like a third party sort of like inject, you know, certain things into here and pass on which metrics get like displayed on that sort of single pane of glass thing. But, yeah,
I think it'll be nice.
Go ahead, Chad.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it'd be nice, like, if it was actually the SMS activity that was able to be related rather than the HubSpot specific SMSs, since now via API, you can log, they call them communications in the background, but you can actually log your communications, your SMS, and, you know, all these different tools are starting to do that.
Well, here's the crazy part, Chad. What metric do you think that they're like even using to pull into there? Probably SMS activity metrics, if you think about it. Right?
Yeah, but I think there's some level of like the SMS tool starts to track for each little SMS campaign.
True.
Stuff,
yeah, and that's not going to be in the activity.
And then open rates and all that, and that's going to be stored in a separate place. Yeah. So that's why they do it that way, and that's why it's probably limited. But it'd be not like, and that's where you use like the workflows or something. Oh, this workflow, if they go through this workflow, we know that they've been at least influenced by this. But it's hard. Like, the thing that's difficult is to tell the difference between influenced contacts and contacts that it captured and, you know, are attributed to this campaign. It would be wonderful to have some mechanism to like override either manually or via workflow or something, when you know without a shadow of a doubt, like, this person came from this campaign and they should be not in just the influenced bucket, but in the like captured revenue type bucket to be able to like apply that, right?
Yeah, like almost like a workflow action that says add to campaign, kind of like they do with Salesforce. Right.
Yeah.
And people have been begging for that for a while, honestly. It's like, how can I manually associate a deal or like some other object to a campaign? It's like, well, you can't. Right. And I feel like it's because HubSpot has this like very sort of like protecting experience they're trying to create here of just like, you use the marketing and content tools and things will magically start to like, you know, work with this. And then as soon as you like, or I guess what they're thinking is like, as soon as you sort of like add in your own like ability to customize how that happens, like how attribution happens, because like the only way attribution's happening is like they're just associating it in the back end and calling it attribution. Like it's nothing crazy, right? Or they're running some kind of report or something like that, right? But yeah, like I don't know, I feel like as soon as you start to give people the ability to kind of like it up by doing like bad automation that would like erroneously associate things that like shouldn't be attributed to it, it almost kind of like, they might be worried it might kind of like lose its power a little bit, right? Because like, you know, it may start to feel like it's becoming inaccurate, but it's like kind of the user's fault, and so they kind of like lose a little bit of control over like how it works, you know?
Yes, the Apple walled garden experience.
Yes, right? Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know if I see a world where that's where HubSpot stays, to be honest with you, with things that I see that have been happening. So for instance, if you would have asked me back in the days, I won't even say the good old days, if I ever saw that we'd be able to do external website pages, campaign, I'd have been like, no, probably not, because they want them to buy the. And listen, there was just an update like a couple days ago about how you can now do WordPress subdomains, like or subfolder. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so like you can tell HubSpot is leaning more on these things. So I'm envisioning like, is there a day we actually come into this and you're able to add the apps that you have integrated into HubSpot into this tool and truly do what we're actually talking about? But maybe that is a future for this. But here's the thing, I want to dig into the next tab. Because my goal for this episode is to get through these tabs and kind of talk about these things. So, Max, you alluded to content and marketing, and content is part of marketing. But here's the thing: under content now, there's blog posts, makes sense. Landing pages, makes sense. Website, makes sense. But there's also case studies and podcast episodes. So when you think about now, you have a world where you can associate case studies and podcast episodes to a campaign. Like, where do your guys' brain go from like why we historically created that content to why we might create that content and what it means being able to visually see that content around the other stuff that we're talking about?
Well, I think this, like, to me, it highlights to me, the benefit of like the campaign stuff was like not just to get a bunch of like numbers on one screen, because you can like do that with a report. It was more so to get the metrics that are unique to that type of piece of asset, or to that type of asset, or that type of content, or like whatever it may be, right? So it's like on the same report, you're seeing email opens, you're going to see, I don't know, what is it, downloads and listens, or listen time for podcasts, right? Which is like, yo, go try to do that on a friggin' report. Yeah, go do that. Go try to do that on a report in like, or build a dashboard around that, bro. You're not gonna, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, so I just love that it's, they're continuing to weave in these different types of like assets and content objects that have their own sort of unique metrics around reporting and being able to display that in like a single place. Like, to me, that's the benefit of it, right? Because it's like, I don't know the exact example that I'm looking for here. It's like you're not looking at the same metrics for a marketing email that you are for a podcast episode or for a landing page to an ad campaign and things like that, right? Sure, some of them rhyme, right? But each one of them has their important KPI that you want to know about, and like, how else are you going to see all that in one place instead of clicking around 8 billion times?
Even just making a dashboard that reports on each one of those things. But then at that point, how do you filter that dashboard by the commonality of how those humans got into your HubSpot?
Yeah. And then what happens when you have your next campaign? You're going to rebuild it all again?
Yeah,
Hell
exactly.
no, dude. Like, make a campaign.
Which also makes me think about, which hopefully people know because you've been able to do it for a while, but if you've got a campaign that looks alike, smells alike, like being able to clone that campaign or clone the assets from that campaign, depending upon what you're doing. We'll get to that here in a hot minute too, because I'll talk about where that might make the most sense. But Chad, any other thoughts here? I know I have something around case studies, but like, what are your thoughts on the content side of case studies and podcasts and all that?
Yeah, I think interestingly enough, like, podcasts can go on so many platforms. I'm super curious, just curiosity, I hope my cat doesn't get whatever happens to curious cats. But I wonder, how do they capture all of those metrics back for podcast from wherever that you end up being able to put it outside of, or is it just when you upload the podcast?
To HubSpot. Yeah. So they literally have made it easy
and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, so for instance, like, here's a couple things. One, you can easily transfer, like right now we use transistor.fm. I can transfer from there to HubSpot, which, by the way, I did move one of our podcasts over to HubSpot because I wanted to go through the process. So you can transfer it over. But now, once it's transferred over, you still have the same RSS feed. You're still getting the same analytics of like people clicking, play, and all that stuff. but you can get deeper, richer pieces because there's a podcast embed widget. Like, right. So if you're using HubSpot Pages and you're using the podcast player and you're hosted on HubSpot, now all of a sudden, do you not only get more metrics, do you not only get like kind of this fluid process, but it's helping to bake in like, and you should have show notes and you should have a form for conversion and to build community and have conversation. And so it just becomes this kind of like nice, juicy place. Here's what I'll say too. I'll bounce into case studies because historically we've been told case studies is something that we have to build. And it's kind of maybe at the, middle to bottom of the funnel that people are going to want to see success stories. But how historically have you been able to tie that back with ease to that it actually was part of a deal closing? And so when I start to think about what Liz always talks about, and I kind of wish she was here for this part, is she talks about telling the success stories of the content that you've created. And now if case studies and podcasts live right beside blog posts and the landing pages and the web, now all of a sudden the success story becomes a lot easier to tell because it's almost like sitting right here in this content bucket that we're looking at.
We should totally use your portal, George, and build a case study live on an episode.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Because I still haven't seen it. Like, what metrics are they using? Like the same thing as like page metrics there? Because it just renders a web page, right?
We'll have to do a case studies episode in the future.
It'd be interesting to look at that.
That would be fun. So CRM, there's one thing: static lists. Okay, I think there's probably more reasons than this, but the immediate reason I think of is I go to a not online event. I get a list of humans. I can actually bring those list of humans into that campaign. And now I can associate the humans to the things that I created, even though it might have been like different pieces and parts, emails that go out after the campaign, a workflow that actually runs those, other pieces that we're sending them to, like pages or whatever it is. But now at least I can associate an offline event to a campaign. Other thoughts that you're thinking? Because I see your face, Chad. Like, where are you going?
Well, I've actually had meetings with the campaigns team about this, and static lists are not a viable option to bring in anything other than influenced contacts related to the campaign. So it'll only show influenced, not converted. And the way that you can get converted contacts is by uploading a static list to a marketing event, which is related to your campaign. And then that will give you the contacts that are associated to the campaign. And then any deals that they subsequently get will be also associated to the campaign. That's one of those things, like the static lists. It could be a workaround, but there's no option to do static list of influenced contacts versus static list of converted contacts or something like that. They just didn't give you that visibility or that capability here under static lists. But it is very helpful. Like you say, hey, I do have a list of people that I know are related from a previous system that were has saw an ad or something, but whatever. Then you can at least get those humans into your HubSpot and you can get them related to this as influenced.
And I would almost say, because my brain kind of goes back to that in event thing, is talking to a sales rep and getting a business card. That's not really a conversion. It is probably influenced, right? We've influenced the direction of maybe a future conversation. So it's interesting that that's kind of the line that goes into, although you can use the business card scanner in the app, which then is kind of a conversion, but it's kind of an interesting conversion.
Yeah, that thing sucks. I hate that thing.
Oh, no. You haven't checked it out lately. It's been updated and redone, brother. I just shared it with a client of ours.
Does it still not write any data to the record if the contact already exists?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So before, you would, and I'm fine with it when it's the first time you're scanning someone.
Yeah.
But fun fact, when you scan someone that already exists in the CRM, nothing writes to the contact record. So you can't even see the latest source. Yeah, you can't even see latest source was.
Oh, we'll have to check that out.
But I don't dumb.
I don't think it is, but I know that it's definitely updated from the last time I had used it.
Yeah,
and
like
was
you can do
talking
other
through-
properties now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. It's just like, why aren't you like, why can't I trigger anything from someone getting their business card scanned? It's crazy.
Well, yes.
If they already exist. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I like how your brain works, Max. Going, okay, let's continue on so we have time to get through this, because we're getting there. We're getting to two of the main things that I want to talk about. And this next one is going to kind of allude to it. So automation, it used to just be workflows, but now it's workflows and sequences. So let's let the cat out the bag. Why did I even want to really do this episode? Because we're going to skip over one and go to a next and bring sequences in with this. This is the sales tab. The fact now that you can associate calls, emails, meetings, and sequences. By the way, if I open up library, there's another one that I want people to understand. Well, two, documents and playbooks. So just pause for a second. Dang on it. Automation, sequences, library, documents and playbooks, sales, calls, emails, and meetings. What the heck is sales stuff doing in marketing campaigns? Now, I'm just going to stop there and ask where your guys' brains go with all of this being able to be associated now to what historically was a marketing campaigns or campaigns tool, and what that does moving forward.
It's that closed loop, baby. Well, maybe it's not closed. I don't know if it's closed loop. I mean, it's just marketing is so much more than just marketing. It's like oftentimes your sales team is finishing the motion that you're starting. Right. And so, I think it's great where we live in the world now. It's like, cool. Not only can I, bring in my workflows and see how they're performing for any workflows that directly support the efforts of this campaign. Right. Let's say I went and built a sequence for my sales team to use to, prospect into their install base for a very specific reason around a very specific campaign, right? Well, now you can use it. And then I think the other thing too is like this starts to make it more relevant to people who may just not be marketers. Like you could see a sales director or sales manager using something like this now, right? Where they want to track
if their team's using the assets that people made for them.
Right?
Sales campaign.
Yep, sales campaign for sure. But even like that's why meetings is on there too, right? Maybe there's specific meeting links that you're building for people. You know what I mean? Like like marketing teams that have really good relationships with their sales teams, like folks that are doing like, are we still saying marketing? Marketing, right?
Listen, it's still out in the world.
Sales and marketing teams that are very aligned with the work that they do inside of HubSpot. I think it makes sense that you kind of treat a lot of this stuff as one, because it's all related, right? So it makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I would even say, and then Chad, I'm going to go to you. I would even say for those teams that have historically had hurdles being connected with their sales team, like I feel like this is a bridge to sales enablement, or at least a mindset of sales enablement. And so I go to like one of the things that I've been throwing out there to different clients and trying to talk about is like, look, I want you to think about what is the kind of process that you would go through and what is the mirrored version of what you've historically done with marketing. So like you create a marketing landing page so that they can convert and download an ebook. Okay, great. Is that ebook in documents? Can the sales team give that document away with a snippet? Right. And so because the snippet could be, or the snippet or the template could be the air quotes landing page to the thing that is in a document, because now they're already in the CRM versus you're trying to get them to convert to get into the CRM. And so like, what's the pairing or mirroring piece? And how can you use all of this to align sales and marketing, enable sales enablement? And Max, you started to allude to it at the beginning of like, a true representation of 360-degree reporting on both teams' efforts. I'll pause there, Chad. Where's your brain?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of like, I mean, since Liz isn't here, I'll try and do the Liz voice. Like, how many times have you heard, hey, can I please get myself a price comparison battle card between this and that software?
I don't know if she's that Southern, but I get where you're going.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's the Kermit the Frog voice that she does.
It's the Kermit, Kermit Liz. Anyway, but like they want a battle card, right? Or something. And, and it's also maybe something that's on your site, you build it, but really it's like you're saying, George, multiple entry points for the same content One entry point is marketing only, and the other is sales was able to give it to them. We can still count it as influence, but then like later possibly even track the source of the contact versus the, you know, view rate or whatever, right? Sort of types of things. So you can kind of slice and dice the data a little bit more. It's, I think that is a super helpful thing if you're thinking about it from that perspective of like, well, I need to think about it. I mean, it's like twice the work, twice the configuration. Cause like, but like when you go on your journey report or whatever as well, like where did my customer follow the treasure map that I built for them, essentially? You know, you can see if they skipped steps or how they got into the funnel and all that kind of stuff as well. If they did what you were expecting them to, or if they just went right over, you know, it's like, hey, the contact is here. They didn't fill out a form, but they got the document, right?
Yeah. And it's, listen, we're just scratching the surface. There's two places I want to go because of things that were said either at the very beginning of this podcast or even before we started recording. But I just want everybody to know the fact that videos now is in the campaigns tool, marketing events, tracking URLs, external website pages. Who knows where this is going to go in the future? If you haven't checked out the campaigns tool lately, you need to check it out, and not only check it out to just see what's there, but to think about what is the future strategy that you're going to use moving forward around marketing campaigns, sales campaigns, or God forbid it actually be called marketing, but some type of sales enablement, cohesive 360-degree piece. Here's the other thing that I'm going to mention before I actually go into the two questions that I want to ask before we close. It's also the first place that I think I've seen an, I'll use air quotes, ad for another app, because it looks like, and by the way, HubSpot, I'm kind of talking to you. It's kind of confusing. There's content remix at the very bottom of the list of ad assets, and you click that like you would think you're adding an asset, but you're actually taking to content remix. Yeah. So that I guess so you can create some more content to put to the campaign. But anyway, I know you're trying to get user adoption. It's kind of confusing, but maybe make it look more like an ad, less like just a link, because the others look like links. Just my suggestion. Yeah. Anyway, so two things I want to dive into. Max, when we first got started, you said, I did this campaign template and my mind is blown. Can you talk me through why your mind was blown around campaign templates and just give the audience, the listeners, kind of your brain dump on that?
Because when I was doing onboarding way back when, this would have made my life 10 times easier. That's why. So they have these campaign templates, right? And this is my first time actually going through it, right? But I'm in here. I went to go create a campaign. Instead of hitting start from scratch, I hit, create a template. Or use start from a template, right? So they have a bunch of them in here, and you can even create your own, which is sick, right? But they have like abandoned carts, email drip campaign, in-person event promotion, lead generation, onboarding and welcome, product sale, regain, all these different things, right? So like, let's go look at this like product launch one, right? And I'll go create one right here. So when you go and do that, it brings you to this page that essentially is like giving you a whole bunch of assets that it wants you to add, but it gives you context into why you're creating each one, right? So like, and it also has this like steps completed thing up at the top, which is like awesome because you can see the progress as you're going out and like building this, right? So it's like, okay, landing page, build a landing page to feature your new product or service, right? It has this like text that's like unique to this specific template, right? That's like actually giving you instruction instead of just saying, add a landing page. It's like, okay, landing page for what? Like, what am I doing with the landing page, right? And then it's like, create a CTA. So it says, create a product demo banner on your website. So it's like even giving you suggestions on like where to use it, right? Yeah. Awesome. AI is probably going to make this crazy. Yeah. Right. And I'm honestly surprised they don't already have like when they build Breeze into this thing, that's going to be insane. So this is really, really cool. But I also just like how you can
build your own template, because that's a really unique form of like marketing enablement, right? Like we talk about sales enablement a lot, but there are situations where like some marketing teams are huge and like marketing enablement exists. Like we had it at HubSpot, right? You know, and it's everything that you're doing to make your marketers' lives a lot easier and whatever tools that they're using across the whole stack, whatever it may be, right? But just like you might create data sets for different marketing teams to use to enable them to be able to use reporting much easier, right? I'm feeling like building like specific campaigns that have like, you know, your standard operating procedure in there that's like unique to your company, and then making those templates available to folks saying like, hey, when we're promoting this or doing this or doing this, here are the different things that we do. Here's the instructions that make it unique to us, all that kind of stuff. That's really cool.
I mean, I love that you can make your own templates too. That's amazing, right? Like you can literally just add your flow. So cool. Like once you really feel like you're happy with how it's being used and you know what's going on and the results you're getting.
But like just imagine when the little breeze button shows up there and it's just like, you know, start this for me or like whatever. Right.
Yeah, the amount of time you're saving in the humans' lives that you work with by being able to actually strategize and put something like this together is absolutely amazing. Talking about putting something together, Chad, you mentioned something before we even hit the record button, and I've been dying to get back to it. And that is the fact that campaigns is in the custom report builder. So kind of talk us through, because you get excited when you find stuff in the custom report builder. Like I watch your face light up. So just walk us through the fact that campaigns, all of the things that we're talking about new, and then boom, campaigns is in the custom report builder. Like, where's your brain go?
Yeah, so it wasn't a thing until 6 months ago, but it's also gotten better. And what I mean by that is like before, campaigns in the CRB used to only be a primary data source and you couldn't add any other data sources as joins to it. However, you can now add things like contacts or deals or tickets or whatever that are related to that campaign. And it's quite phenomenal that like I can add a filter for, you have to, with campaigns as the CRB, you have to have the filter for like the campaign's event timestamp. But then I could say like also add contacts and deals related to that campaign and break down the campaign by the count of contacts and the count of deals and filter by some critical mass date component that I'm tracking, right? So for us, it would be like, hey, the date they exited the, inspection completed deal pipeline stage, or my contract sign date. Like, hey, give me only, campaigns and their deals that have had a contract sign date. Like, and then you can pull in the campaign spend total. And if you're using campaign templates for standard marketing that you're doing, where you duplicate the campaign and track like the Google Ads spend for just that 1 month, then because unfortunately campaign spend still doesn't have like a date that the spend was added to break down how much was spent and when. But if your campaign is like a month by month type thing, then now you know how much did I spend this month on my digital ad sources, or if we need to log any manual spend for like billboards or whatever, we can do that for that date period. And then I can like click on it and look at who the people that came through are in my custom report builder, broken down by campaigns, broken down by all, like you could get your, pivot table heaven going with some of this. And if you do this in a data set, then you can start to create, if you have Ops Hub Pro, like some level calculations of, or break down, interactions, like number of this type of interaction divided by some other metric. And then you can tell, conversion rate that may not already be calculated for you. And like, I mean, they roll up so much information to that campaign level that now that you can associate things to it in the CRB, you can really get granular with your data, like outside of the campaign analytics, where it can't tell you what you want to know. You can start to really drill down. And between that And now the ability to like upload a CSV to a data set of your own data and create your own custom join on like a matched value. So like the campaign name is, March leads, and then my budget spend item that I uploaded, maybe if I didn't use it that way and I wanted to track it some other way, and I was pulling data from my accounting software. I mean, it's crazy what you could do and like create those associations for CSV uploads now. Right?
It sounds like almost the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
If you understand what you can do. But of course, to get that, the power that I just heard you say around the reporting of campaigns in the custom report builder, you've kind of got to use the campaigns tool.
Yeah.
Which I hope people are. Okay, so I'm going to close it out here in a second. But if you, Max, I'll go with you, Chad, you, then I'll close this bad boy out. If you were to give somebody one action item that they needed to take after listening to this episode, what would be the one thing that they should do?
Oh, dude. I mean, if you feel like you don't have like a structured way of building out your campaigns and you're kind of just, building stuff willy nilly, go check out one of these templates, man. It's just a great way to add a little bit of a structure and a nice little checklist for yourself to make sure you're building with purpose.
Yeah.
Marketing Hub. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I would say like go to the CRB, add campaigns as a primary data source, and look at all the properties. Remember, in the custom report builder now, you can click the little 3 dots next to any property and hit view property info, and it will give a property description without you having to leave the CRB. Like sometimes properties don't exist anywhere, and like you can't go to campaign. Some of these campaign properties, you see your campaign custom properties, but maybe not all of these properties. So this gives you like property descriptions for stuff that you may not actually even be able to find property descriptions for normally in the HubSpot UI, right? So go check this out, look at those properties, let it inspire you as to how you could structure your campaigns to more accurately track information that you may never have thought you were able to track in HubSpot before.
I love it so much. Ladies and gentlemen, my one thing is just go look at the campaigns tool. If you've been a HubSpot user for years and you're like, campaigns, I've looked at that like 5 times. We tried it once. It's not. Listen, Go look at it, see what's new, go reimagine what's possible when you use this tool, because for me, it really does come down to these things: sales campaigns, marketing campaigns, or in a perfect world in my mind, an aligned campaign where sales and marketing are working together. They're mirror versions of what you're trying to accomplish: conversions, conversations, driving results, helping humans. And so just go check it out. See what you can add to this thing. Go rebuild some of your old campaigns or add assets that you once couldn't add, and see what the numbers happen there when you just add the assets that you had, but you couldn't add. Like some of you have been doing this before. Anyway, go do that. Go do the things that Max and Chad said. And of course, while you're doing that, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble human. And we'll see you on the next episode of HubHeroes Podcast. Okay, Hub Heroes, we've reached the end of another episode. Will Lord Lack continue to loom over the community, or will we be able to defeat him in the next episode of the Hub Heroes Podcast? Make sure you tune in and find out in the next episode. Make sure you head over to thehubheroes.com to get the latest episodes and become part of the League of Heroes. FYI, if you're part of the League of Heroes, you'll get the show notes right in your inbox, and they come with some hidden power-up potential as well. Make sure you share this podcast with a friend, leave a review if you like what you're listening to, and use the hashtag HubHeroes Podcast on any of the socials, and let us know what strategy conversation you'd like to listen into next. Until next time, when we meet and combine our forces, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble human, and of course, always be looking for a way to be someone's